My name is Kimberly Bediako. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Fashion Design at the University of Johannesburg.
Khaya Mchunu, senior lecturer and now, I guess, HOD in the Department of Fashion, University of Johannesburg. And yeah, I'm also happy to be a part of this team here.
I am Baloyi, also a lecturer at the University of Johannesburg in the Fashion Department. I'm very happy to be here sharing ideas with you guys. So thank you for having us.
So today's lecture is, I guess, an iteration or maybe the first phase of what we will unpack and expand on Saturday during the Feast of Conversations. So hence we have the main theme, which is embedded knowledge, plural histories and fashion democratization, a social justice fashion-based approach. But specifically in today's lecture, we'll be looking at critical pedagogies and transformative learning, craft workshops for social justice.
Move on to the next slide, guys. Yeah. Cool. So I'm going to be unpacking the context around this question here, right? To what extent can social justice be realized through critical fashion-based praxis in various contexts? And I'm going to be looking at basically the South African context and what the higher education policy or how it creates like a framework to basically work around this issue. So the South African higher education system is diverse and has its framework, the Education White Paper 3, which is a working document for the transformation of higher education. The white paper outlines the framework for change, that is, the higher education system must be planned, it must be governed, and it must be funded as a single national coordinated system. This will enable us to overcome the fragmentation, inequality, and efficiency, which are the legacy of the past. Obviously, knowing that the unequal education system in South Africa, and create a learning society which releases the creative and intellectual energies of all our people towards meeting the goals of reconstruction and development. And then at the core of obviously attaining like the whole idea of reconstruction and development, there's something called community engagement, which is a core activity to attain the goals of reconstruction and development. Related to the whole idea of community engagement, we've got something called service learning, and we've got community-based research. Service learning is basically where students will be placed in, it will be designed as like part of like a project where they are of service to a particular community. And then in some institutions, depending on the makeup of their program, they would get credit for it, but in some instances, they don't necessarily get credit for the service that would come out of that. And it's meant to obviously inculcate, I guess, cognitive learning, but it's also meant to also nourish like the softer skills that you don't just escape like the university system with the knowledge, but you can also be like the university system having learned like those softer skills, how to work with people, how to work with the community, but how your own qualification plays a bigger role in the community context. And I think with this case study, we'll be able to see an example where fashion is then seen to play a role in the community and the development of community. Community-based research, really similar, but I think like the end for this is the research that would then be implemented in the community, with the community, and I guess for the community, but also for the benefit of the university, because it looks at those relationships between the community and the university. So community higher institutions of higher learning, as stated by the white paper, learning needs to be democratic, it needs to be representative, it needs to be participatory, and I think that's very core, because sometimes the university can be accused of helicopter research where we always just take from the community, but there's never speaking with the community and what the community need and designing a project based on the whole idea of development and reconstruction. And then it's characterized by mutual respect, tolerance, and the maintenance of a well-ordered and peaceful community life. So basically, this is the white paper 3 framework, and then this was then developed for higher education. But how do we then link community engagement, fashion education, and the idea of social, and for the context in which we work South Africa around restorative justice, because it is around those ideas like how can community engagement plus education be tailored in the sense that it fulfills the whole idea and the goal of social and restorative justice. And then I've just taken, we are presenting this book here, this author, Dani Wadada Nabudere, who states that restoring a new sense of security, restoring dignity within the society, and creating a new harmony that can enable society to set new rules for social relations. It also means restoring within society a feeling of justice that the whole community feels comfortable with, because essentially universities are a part of a community. Like, it's the community that lives around like the university. So how do we then design like the university to not just exist as an ivory tower, but as a university that's got the open doors for the public? And I think that's where community engagement plays a role in actually enabling those doors to be open. And at the University of Johannesburg, community engagement forms an important part of the university's functioning. And UJ's vision about community engagement is that there needs to be a closer contact with the community as embedded in its vision, which embraces the advancement of freedom, democracy, equality, and human dignity. This is realized through the application of its human capital in adding value to external constituencies by entering into strategic, contractual partnerships and relationships that are mutually beneficial to the university community, as well as the broader external communities which extend to Gauteng, which is the province of where the university is, the country as a whole, and SADC region. And I guess internationally as well, because we've had partnerships with international universities and communities for the purpose of community engagement. And there's a link, obviously, because UJ develops this, I guess, this vision as guided by the white paper of higher education, because they all fall under institutions in the local context, in the South African context, fall under that umbrella.
What I'll be, I think, trying to unpack and delve into is looking at how we can foster transformative learning through critical design pedagogy. So bringing these experiences within the classroom, but also beyond. So how can we foster this practice or praxis within the classroom, aligning to, you know, assessment criteria or module outcomes, but still being able to foster this mentality and this mindset of lifelong transformative learning. And yeah, I think within design disciplines, there's a lot of value in, you know, our disciplines per se, but also this interdisciplinary practice and how we can make use of these critical design approaches to really tackle social problems or issues around social justice. So the consideration of how critical design pedagogies and transformative learning can play a role in social justice and fashion offers a theoretical framework to assist in teaching and learning activities, furthermore allowing us to build on our understanding of how contextually relevant experiences outside the classroom environment influence and inform comprehension and engagement in the classroom, specifically where topics related to social justice are concerned. So a few that I've picked up on: gender, intersectionality, and democratization. These are areas that we explore within our design theory modules, and I see within the fashion and styles department as well. This is, outlined within your website as well. So I'm hoping that things bring some kind of relevance or a link. So to expand on the application of transformative learning as a theory, as educators, so within UJ, our teaching and learning policy, which we're guided by, we have to ensure that, or we have a responsibility to ensure the teaching and learning is student-centered, and that it facilitates access to knowledge and ways of knowing by building on the students' prior knowledge and learning experiences. This means that we teach, or what we teach and how we engage with the students must be fit for purpose. In the same breath as fit for purpose, teaching and learning should be responsive to the needs of students from diverse backgrounds, society, and the discipline, while still aligning to the required module or qualification criteria. So we find that within UJ, the students that come within the department or are registered in the department do very much come from diverse backgrounds. And it's making sure that as lecturers, we are creating a space that is one, student-centered, one that fosters or embraces their differing opinions and views and experiences, and ensuring that the teaching and learning is fostering that or embracing that. I think within design and fashion, leaning into your own personal experience or those experiences makes you I think a more aware designer, or a designer that can then design from a place of less bias. So we all have this like implicit bias, or how we perceive things or the world or our worldview, but embracing these differences or diversity allows us to design from a place that is less biased, which I think is very important. I've included two disciplinary or interdisciplinary design approaches and or paradigms or frameworks. These could be or suitable for theorizing this practice of fostering transformative learning to assist in realizing these interventions in a classroom setting and beyond the classroom. So critical design approaches such as the double diamond model employ critical and or fictive or imaginative design thinking to increase awareness of social, philosophical, or ethical issues and bring these into an everyday context in a novel yet accessible way. And empathic design is an approach that offers designers and researchers the framework needed when developing a creative understanding of opinions and everyday experiences. Empathic design is based on empathy and is also described as a nuanced phenomenon that influences one's cognitive process about another person's thoughts and experiences. So when developing understanding, empathy, and student or learner-centered engagement in order to tackle contextual problems to realize social justice, fashion-based, so being able to look at these social problems with that understanding, it then does show that we can foster this type of transformative and lifelong learning within a fashion-based or through fashion-based interventions. And that leads me to Tinyiko, who is then going to speak about these fashion-based interventions.
Yes. So I will be sharing with you a little bit about the workshop space, which is a space I spend a lot of time in and I love very much. But I guess using that space in order to realize social justice. So the workshop space is more than just a place to learn techniques or acquire skills. It's a dynamic hub for creativity, collaboration, and connection. It's where ideas come to life, fueled by the collective energy and diverse perspective of participants. In this shared space, we can explore new ways of thinking, challenge assumptions, and inspire one another. By working together, we can unlock our creative potential, build relationships, and create meaningful change in the world of fashion. So the traditional view of craft workshops, I think, often focuses on the technical skills. However, by applying critical pedagogies we can create a more holistic and impactful learning experience where collaborating, co-creating with participants are a vital part of this workshop space and process. Technical skills are an important aspect of the making process and can assist makers in improving the quality of their designs. However, going beyond the technical skills to develop critical thinking and personal style can be equally or even more valuable. Within the workshop space, topics such as activism, cultural appropriation, or even the influence of trends on our choices can be engaged with. The philosophy of creating with what you have serves as a powerful framework within the context of craft making and design, extending its impact beyond mere sustainability and resourcefulness. This approach democratizes creative practices by reducing the financial barriers to entry, as it emphasizes utilizing existing materials and resources rather than relying on purchasing new ones. By shifting the focus from consumption to ingenuity, it empowers individuals from diverse socio-economic backgrounds to engage in craft and design activities. Workshop activities that center on mending, repurposing, and upcycling amplify the significance of this philosophy. These practices inherently challenge the prevailing culture of disposability in fast fashion, highlighting the environmental consequences of excessive consumption. Participants actively engage in repairing and transforming existing garments and materials, fostering a deep understanding of the value embedded within them. This hands-on engagement encourages a shift in perspective, moving away from the allure of newness and towards an appreciation for the longevity and adaptability of existing resources. Furthermore, these workshop activities cultivate a sense of agency and empowerment among participants. They're not merely passive consumers, but active creators, capable of transforming and extending the lifespan of their belongings. This shift in mindset resonates beyond the workshop environment, influencing how individuals approach consumption and waste in their daily lives. So I will be sharing briefly a case study of a workshop that I conducted with a group of craft makers from Johannesburg. The workshop was centered around zero waste fashion design and pattern making. So they came in not really having a garment making type of knowledge, but they were crafters, so they can make things. And I guess from that experience, I would like to share how a critically infused workshop could look like or become. So I think the first thing is challenging hierarchy. So having a level playing ground. Everyone is welcome and everyone is important. And incorporating a participatory approach, participants were engaged in a dialogue, exploration of sustainable fashion practices, facilitating a nuanced understanding of the concept's personal relevance and integration into their lifestyles. This exercise fostered the co-creation of a multifaceted definition of sustainability in fashion, which reflected the diverse perspectives and lived experiences of the participants. Consequently, this enriched understanding informed a distinctive design process that was inherently participant-driven and reflective of their individual values and priorities.
Secondly, social justice. The primary aim of the workshop was to examine the societal environmental impact of clothing through the framework of collective making. However, discussions organically evolved to encompass broader concerns regarding accessibility to information and spaces of practice. Participants expressed a strong desire to sustain the growing community fostered within the workshop and explore strategies within the workshop space to overcome obstacles such as limited financial resources, inadequate studio space, and lack of equipment. This emergent discourse underscores the multifaceted nature of sustainable creative practices and highlights the importance of addressing systemic barriers to participation. Critical consciousness. The interconnectedness of social justice and critical consciousness was a significant theme that emerged during participant reflections. It was observed that numerous lived experiences within Black cultural expressions align with sustainable practices. However, these practices often remain unacknowledged within dominant discourses due to the non-commodified nature. Instead, they are embedded within the everyday practices and cultural fabric of everyday life and are often overlooked in mainstream narratives on sustainability. And going beyond skills as well becomes an important thing in the workshop space, even though we are using our skills. But within the workshop cohort, several participants have integrated zero waste pattern making into their design practices, demonstrating a commitment to minimizing textile waste. Furthermore, they exhibit a heightened awareness of their consumption patterns and actively engage in the creation of their own clothes now, thereby fostering a more sustainable and personalized approach to fashion. And lastly, I think it's important, once you have experienced a workshop space, to take it further and pay it forward and become an agent of change. Becoming an agent of change, the learning becomes more valuable when it is shared. Share any newfound knowledge with others when granted the opportunity. This will create a ripple effect of change within our shared communities. Thank you.